dig it? Can you dig it?
Ladies, gentlemen, friends, foes, lurkers, regulars, GMO people, organic people.
Boiler room inbound. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yes. All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Boiler Room. We're live tonight. It is Thanksgiving out here in the United States of America. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Hope everybody is tuned in and not sleeping because you're in a food coma. But I know some of you are in a food coma and you're catching this on a rebroadcast. So thank you also for checking it out. We're live over at YouTube. We're live at Rockfin. We're live at Spreaker on that audio stream. And, of course, over at alternatecurrentradio.com on that 24/7 player. Find that up there in the main menu at alternatecurrentradio.com. We got a store up there. We've got links to all of our podcasty friends up there and all our Boiler Room episodes and all that good stuff. But again, I hope you're having a great holiday out there, everybody. And we're going to do some Boiler Room here tonight. So let's see here. Let's welcome the Angry Birds account right here. We've got Infidel Pharaoh joining us. Infidel, what's up? Welcome. And happy Thanksgiving, man.
Happy Thanksgiving, man, to you and Spoor and Ruckus and all our listeners, and glad to be here with you guys.
Yeah, man. Yeah, what you up to? You got the Angry Birds handle on tonight to celebrate the holiday. You out there roughing it in the woods, or are you with family? What do you got going tonight, man?
Yeah, just enjoying a quiet weekend out in the woods.
All right, excellent. Okay, well, looking forward to hanging out tonight, man. Glad you were able to make it, and we'll probably keep it a somewhat short show tonight, so as not to keep everybody too long. But we'll see how it goes. Appreciate you being here, Infidel. We've also got the Gravy Man. There's a Gravy Man amongst us, a Ruckus Gravy Man amongst us. Adam Ruckus Gravy Man Clark. What's up, dude? Welcome to the show.
Turducus.
Turducus.
Turducus was here. I don't know. We were learning about the turducken earlier before we went live on the video here. Fascinating stuff, folks. Well, happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for having me. Felt weird not doing all the normal stuff today because I'm usually working and doing other things, and I didn't do any of those things. So, but we're still doing the Boiler Room, so that's kind of cool. So my entire I don't know. I like I like a normal sense of normalcy and, regular things and things I can count on, and every Thursday at Boiler Room, so I'm glad that despite the holiday, we're still doing this because, otherwise, because I didn't do well with their new normal thing that they did to us a couple weeks ago back in 2020. So,
Right.
But yeah, again, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. And can't wait to see what we're going to be getting into today. Maybe nothing serious, maybe a bunch of light stuff. Who knows?
We'll
see how the night goes.
We'll see how it goes, man. Yeah, it was weird not having the full grind today, but glad we're able to be here and do some Boiler Room action, hang out, enjoy the holiday a little bit, keep that routine going, of course. And speaking of routines, there's a routine here in the Boiler Room that happens once we get to our final introduction here. We may have some combat landings today. I'm not really sure. We got a couple invites out, so you never know. Some other people may or may not show up. We'll see. Those of you that got the invite, you know who you are. And if you're already in a food coma, don't worry about it. We'll catch you next time. But that leads us to the one and the only very lovely Spore, curator of all things Whiskey Tango Foxtrot on the interwebs. What's up, lovely Spore? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I am super happy to be here, and I want to wish a happy Thanksgiving to everybody that celebrates this so-called holiday. And I just want to send out my gratitude for all of those listeners and people that keep continuing to listen to us. It's always a roller coaster. It's not easy, and only the strongest will be able to continue on with us. But all you rejects out there, we get so much support and great information, intelligence, and laughter and good friendships from. So I just want to send my gratitude out to every listener out there that continues on with us.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Thank you, folks. All right. Well, Spore, what are we breaking the ice with tonight?
Oh, it was a bit of a tough one this week. Not a ton of good, funny news. Not a ton of good news. But I guess this one was kind of interesting. So the title, this is coming from the Metro from the UK. The title is Robots in San Francisco Could Be Allowed to Use Deadly Force. And I'm just going to sum this up. I'm not going to read through this. But basically, council members in San Francisco were talking about allowing their city robots to kill people depending on the severity of a situation. Whereas in the past, they've only been used to like detect bombs and things like that. And now it's like, well, maybe we should let them kill people. And it turns out that I think it was the Oakland City Council had discussed allowing their robots to have shotguns to use deadly force, but it was eventually turned around. And so I guess that was a good sort of example of like, hey, we're not going to do this. And then Boston Dynamics said that they wouldn't want their robots used in these ways.
Okay. So it's come to this, Spore. If you recall, I think it was in 15, early on in the Boiler Room archives, the deep, dank, dark, dusty, hard to find archives of the Boiler Room. There were multiple episodes where we started looking at the concept of smart cities and corporate police, and then started looking at Boston Dynamics, and we just went straight to RoboCop. It was like, well, this is just the recipe for a dystopia that looks exactly like the movie RoboCop.
Yeah,
And
exactly. And I
it's like
mean,
more right here, right?
yeah, and we've been tracking this for, like you said, for several years, and it went from like, this Black Mirror idea that it was going to be like these, little like dog like robots that could kill you on the streets if you dropped your N95 mask or something like that.
Cough on someone.
Yeah, cough, or you weren't social distancing. It
Able to
used
have
to
a
be
new
kind of.
PCR test hanging off your neck.
And then, I mean, the other thing we've been tracking is just all the dirt in like the San Francisco Bay Area, to the point where they have apps that can tell you which streets have more poop or needles on them than others. And they had robots going out there to clean, and these are expensive robots, like going out to tell people to clean up their needles and pick up their poops or whatever, or they were just, doing the robotic trash gathering. And here we are now. So.
Yeah. Now they're admitting that they have connectors for them for shotguns. All right. Like, okay, well, we're not going to do it, but it's the creep here. So the ruckus, we're creeping into the part where we're now normalizing the knowledge that, yeah, we have a shotgun adapter for that thing that's supposed to just be a pest. Like, remember was it in Shanghai or something like that? They had Boston Dynamic dogs running around telling people to, better put a mask on, bro, or better get in the
It was
house.
Singapore.
Like Singapore. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a bit much. All right, so like, okay, what was it? It was back in 2016 when they used like one of the bomb. They used a robot and sent it in against the shooter, the Dallas
In
shooter.
Dallas. Yeah, in Dallas. Yeah.
And then they exploded. They killed the suspect using a robot. That was a first. And and you guys, I wasn't on air at the time with y'all, but you guys are probably, if I'm not mistaken, reporting about that stuff. Is this wacky? I don't know. I mean, robots. This is okay. Science fiction come to reality yet again, but why is this stuff happening so quickly? I don't.
Right.
Slow the f down, man. I'm
It,
just
it, it
freaking
is
out.
escalating quickly, isn't it?
It is. So how long before okay, so didn't I hear I could have swore that I had heard or ran across another story. Oh, Russia. I think Russia wants to start using artificial intelligence with their drones and their robots that have weapons attached to it. So is that next? Or we're gonna have, first we arm the drone. First we arm the robots in San Francisco, right, and say it's okay for them to use deadly force, right? And then we introduce the artificial intelligence, and now it's the robot making the decision on when and where, rather than because it's still going to have the human element. That it's still going to be a human that decides when and where to use this deadly force. But now it's okay for it to be a robot doing the killing, because that was the problem. That wasn't allowed until now, I guess. So, but it's really it's a shotgun attachment for real.
Yeah,
I didn't see the article. Okay.
pretty sure it said something in there about that. Let's see here. Now, San Francisco, I guess, is still considering this, but Oakland said, "Hell no, we're not going to be RoboCop town." So, shout out to Oakland. Yeah, it says right here, a report last month revealed that California's Oakland Police Department was also considering letting shotgun-equipped robots use deadly force. Shortly after the report came out, the Oakland PD announced on Facebook that it decided against adding armed remote vehicles to the department. So that's what they're calling like a Boston Dynamic or whatever, whether it's a Spot or an Atlas. I'm not sure what version we're talking about here. Like how, how Skynet are we looking? But they're all pretty freaking scary. And it says, in addition to granting robots the ability to use deadly force, the proposal also would authorize them for use in training and simulations, criminal apprehensions, critical incidents, exigent circumstances, executing a warrant, or during suspicious device assessments. That last one seems to me the only one where this could even be considered anything other than sci-fi dystopia to use these things for. But yeah,
So
down there,
they're just considering it, so they haven't done it yet.
is that right, Sport? Is that your understanding too? This is a proposal that's out, and that San Francisco has not decided yet, but Oakland has decided against it.
Yeah, that's my understanding. Well, they didn't say if it was actually going to happen in San Francisco, but they did say that Oakland had discussed doing it and then backed out of it. And it was around the same time that Boston Dynamics said that they did not want to participate in any sort of robot killing machines. So they might have to look for another manufacturer if they want those robot killing machines.
So
Oh
it's
my gosh.
by the way, I hope that helps my low volume. The listeners have been saying it was a little low there. So I lost my train of thought there. So the robots. Oh, so this is less about them actually doing this as a law and more about the company policy that the makers of the robots have, right?
No, I think it's both actually.
Yeah, there's
Gotcha.
two things going on there. So
Yeah.
to Boston Dynamics credit, they're saying, hey, we don't want to be the company associated with making Terminators, and we don't want you to put we don't want you to arm them lethally. But why is there a shotgun attachment? Why are we already discussing whether or not shotgun should be involved? What do you think, Infidel Angry Birds?
So, so they're actually voting on it. I'm reading the articles. The new policy will be voted on by San Francisco Board of Supervisor on Tuesday. So they will vote on that next Tuesday. So it's still in
Well,
draft, and they're voting on it.
okay, so we should find out on the 29th of November. This will be a hard one to remember to look back at. I got to admit, it's just like, oh my god, is this really going to happen? But I think if it passes, it's going to blow up my my feeds the next day. So I'm sure we'll hear about it if it passes.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I just posted an article also that I saw last month on our private chat here. It was actually a Chinese drone. It's a video of a Chinese drone that was carrying a robo dog that was carrying a gun, and it dropped it on the roof, and then the dog went in and started doing its dirty things. So it's interesting how we're using China really as our role model these days. Um, but I'm wondering what role will that play um, in the next lockdowns?
Whoops, sorry.
Well, yeah, so it's interesting. It's interesting really because they keep attacking the police and they dehumanize the police force and they want to federalize it and now they want to replace it with robots. So you can see
Yeah,
where they're
yeah,
really going, right?
right. Or worse yet, they want to privatize it in some cases, so you
That's
could
right.
have something
That's
like
right.
the Walt Disney Police and the Facebook Police and the AT&T Verizon Police, Cricket Mobile Police,
With
whatever,
with with the license to kill,
Yep.
and it's if anything, I guess it started really during Obama when they started using more of those drone attacks. And what we've seen, it's really if you're like way far away from the scene and you're just like triggering triggering a button, right? As if you're playing a video game, you're completely disconnected. It's like there's even no regards to any life at that point of time. It's so easy to kill, right? So it's
Mhm.
you gotta look at it this way.
Yeah,
Um,
they have interviews with people that were drone pilots in those years that have, like, great remorse and regret, and, like, it's weird the way, like, they're detached from it while it's happening, but then over
mhm.
time, they feel the gravity of, having taken people's lives and stuff, especially when they were, like, the ones, that did weddings and funerals and, hit jobs and shit like that, not like, arguably not military, targeting, just a little more willy-nilly, if you will, or personal.
I just hope whatever they make, they pin them non-white and they give them like a different pronouns than he, just to make them more happy, And even if they killed someone, they're not gonna make a fuss about it.
Well, that's the other thing, especially when they talk about adding a layer of AI in there. You add a layer of AI in there, then it's like you can never there will never be a person held responsible for anything that goes wrong, It's
That's right.
just yeah.
What happened to body cams at that point of time?
I don't know, I'm still waiting on, the Paul Pelosi body cam here, waiting with bated breath, still waiting on the unedited, Uvalde body cam footage, nothing there yet.
It'll never come out, my friend.
Yeah, exactly. Alright, let's check this video out you sent me, man. What's going on with this thing? Maybe this'll give us a nice Thanksgiving scare here. Oh, shit, here they come. It's got a package, apparently. That doesn't look too scary yet. What's it gonna do? Oh, wait. Oh, shit. Is that a light machine gun on top of it?
That's right.
Oh,
It's like a,
it's one of them dogs. This is straight out of Black Mirror, dude.
there you go.
Oh, look, it's got a drum magazine. Fucking bugger. Look at that fucker. Oh, no, no. No, 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 no. I don't like that, man. I don't like that.
Yeah,
No
pretty
bueno, no
scary shit.
bueno. They say that China has can muster 200 million fighting age males for a war. I wonder if that's an accurate number. That's pretty freaking crazy.
Well, we need to be more like China in our response to the next pandemic.
Funny how many people repeat that line as we continue to try to mimic that model, and things just get worse and worse.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
here
that's
we
what I
are.
said. We're
It's
good,
the
man.
conspiracy theories coming true, from just a few years ago.
Right.
It's like, but what do you do now? It's like now that it's here, it's like, okay, well, we tried to warn you. I mean, but like, I mean, what do we do now? What's next? Now we need to focus on, we need to build like a hush underground network of, how to build, you know, special devices that deactivate certain electronics. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. I mean, what are we gonna do? I mean, this kind of sucks.
I know. Well, at least it's so in everybody's faces now that like it is super normal to talk about where this is all headed. Like I had Dr. Azita Katibi on my show. Was that yesterday? Gosh, time is weird this week. I think it was yesterday. And we were talking, she's suing the state of California, so she's suing Gavin Newsom and the state health board, I think, for passing this Assembly Bill 2098. And that is the law that says any doctor that doesn't follow consensus regarding jabs, COVID jabs, is will be considered engaging in unprofessional conduct and can be investigated and have their license taken away. So they're calling it unprofessional conduct and presenting mis or disinformation if they have any opinion about COVID-19 related products, when it comes to recommendations and stuff like that. Like they can actually lose their jobs. So as a doctor, she saw this and she was like, well, wait a minute, that throws everything off. Our profession is about medical opinions, and opinions are not always the same. And that's how we get better at what we do is we go to conferences and we discuss different methods
Mhm.
that we do to treat things, and we test them to see which one's better. And some things work for some people and don't work for other people, and to tell us that like there would be an agency that would come in and basically send in fake patients to ask them gotcha questions, to see if they'll give them an honest opinion. So if they have an opinion outside of the consensus opinion on the jab, then they can literally lose their job for saying it to someone. But anyways, that so she's suing the state over that, but it turned into a conversation where it was like, why is this happening? You know what I mean? And she's like a lot of people out there that listen, and it's like, well, I was just not even, very politically aware, just 5, 6, 7 years ago. I didn't really think about all this stuff, and everything else, like stuff sounded like conspiracy theories and such. But now you look around and it's just like, they can't do this. This is outside of the realms of our polite society and our legal system and our constitution, and it's like a concerted effort to do it. And I started rattling off all the laws that they're looking at passing in New York that are similar to this one. And it's just like, I'm just like, welcome to the tinfoil hat club. Sorry, doctor. I know you just wanted to help people out, and your career turned into this thing where the state is threatening to take away your career after decades of working towards building it over just your ability to do free speech. It's unfucking real.
Yeah, and the scary part, this is happening around the same time where Biden just committed to sign that WHO treaty, where they're actually
Right.
installing already planning that next like pandemic response, right? And forget like governments, forget people. It's the WHO is what's gonna tell us what we need to do and what the response will be. And it is all about controlling that response of medical profession. Because if you remember, they silenced everybody. They silenced all the medical professionals that spoke about it. Until now, Musk has been unbanning people, but he has not unbanned the medical doctors that spoke against the jabs. Why is that? Right?
Well, I don't know. There was that. Yeah, it's still a big question mark in my mind. I mean, yesterday we had that moment where it was like, oh, he's still blocking stuff because that film came out, right? Suddenly died. I heard Ruckus, you and Joseph talking about this last night. And
Died suddenly.
died suddenly. Yeah, thank you. And then I heard Mike Ryan talking about it afterward. And there was like a period of time last night where it was like, oh, look, Elon's still blocking COVID information, but then he unblocked it. So it was like, that was kind of weird because you and I were trying to figure out what was going on there. And then you figured it out right before you went live. And we were wondering if it was like an old algorithm or an old fact check, stuck to a tag or something like that. But
Yeah,
he,
it's probably just an automated process. I mean,
yeah,
I
it's an
think
automated process.
if it wasn't for all the people like tagging Elon, it's like he wasn't kidding when he had in his profile for a while complaint department, but he's basically acting like the
Yep.
IT department. It's like like when you lose your channel or you have issues or there's censorship on your YouTube, for instance, you're supposed to go to Twitter, believe it or not, for YouTube, and mention at YouTube support or whatever it is and tell them, hey, uncensor me or whatever. Yeah, poor example, but yeah. So there's clearly stuff still in place. So again, that tells me, like, as the king of the free speech, Mr. Elon Musk, he's going to go in there and do all these things. There should have just been like a reset button somewhere. He should have just been able to, like, okay,
right,
whatever, let's let everybody back on. As soon as the really bad ones do, like the super stuff that we're really not supposed to do on there that have nothing to do with free speech, let them commit the offense and the bots will catch them. But you just turn off the other bot that's supposed to tag medical misinformation. Why didn't he turn that off?
right. Yeah, it should have been all turned off. And then when anything is turned on, it should be made public what's being turned on and why and how to avoid it, if it's part of their algorithms and terms of service. So this idea of like, I'm glad he's there to roll that back, when he gets wind of it, but still it shouldn't be that way. It should be, I wanted the board cleared, not just sort of micromanaged. What's up, Mark Anderson? Welcome to the show. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Turkey Day, gentlemen.
Yes.
I ate the requisite amount of food earlier and slept it off, watched part of a football game, came back home, and here I am.
Okay, slept it off. I was going to say, and you're still awake? That's amazing, but you slept it off. Good move. Smart one, man. Well, good to have you here. Sounds like a pretty good turkey day over there.
Oh, absolutely. I did everything but slay the bird. So it was very good, sir. Yes, indeed.
Yes. I think I heard someone slaying a bird in my neighborhood earlier today. Spore and I were outside and just I don't know, it's god awful sound. But who knows? At any rate, so Mark, we're just talking about sort of how it's becoming sort of like table, dinner table topic level to talk about why the heck things are going the way that they're going. Like it seems this year, I hope out there at the Thanksgiving tables, everybody's not afraid to talk to each other and discuss the state of everything with each other a bit. You know what I mean? Because the year before that we had COVID, nobody got together. The year after that, we had the vaxism thing, and everybody was at each other's throats about that. And now here we are this year, and all of the claims from both of those years have pretty much fallen flat in the mainstream to a certain extent, even the people that aren't really digging into this stuff like we are and our viewers and listeners have been. But yeah, I see a much more confident stance brewing with people as they head out to their various Thanksgiving tables. So they're not afraid to sit there and talk about all the bills that are going to be passing in New York, and bills like this one passing in California, AB 2098, that makes it such that a doctor that does not follow the consensus regarding COVID-19 jabs with patients can be looked at for unprofessional conduct or presenting misinformation and look at getting their license revoked. People are starting to wonder why this is happening like in concert all over the country after we're seeing the all of the numbers fail and all these investigations coming out about everything. So I don't know. What do you think, man? Are we in a better place this year when it comes to people's ability to discuss stuff like this around the Thanksgiving table, or should they not be discussing this at all and do it the rest of the year?
Well, speaking from my own experience just today, I won't use any names because he operates in a very sensitive place at the border. In fact, I got my map here. I'm about here, and the gentleman I've been talking to today, right about here or so, is watching a border area for for ranchers that hire his private firm. And I'll tell you a little story. I won't use any names, but I mean, first of all, yeah, your discussion is I think pretty much spot on. I strike up conversations all the time with store clerks and waiters and waitresses. I think it's healthy, even getting tidbits in, especially about the media. I've talked about this before, and issues like COVID, like the vaxes. And yeah, there's more knowledge and more awareness and more skepticism among the people about the science and the system. Some subtle, some not so subtle, but it's becoming pretty widespread. And I think that might be why. And here I'm delving into that mysterious land here again. That might be why we're seeing these shootings cranking up again, coming out of nowhere. Here we go again down the shooting trail. And they're mysterious enough. I won't jump to any conclusions one way or the other, but they're mysterious enough to where one possibility among many is that they're not happening at all the way we're told. And perish the thought, it's possible that some of them are completely fake. But whatever they are, whatever they consist of, it's clear that the media and the system is trying to make hay out of them. Whether the system planned them and executed them and then tries to benefit, or whether they're just leveraging what's happening and trying to make the most of it, even if they didn't plan it. And I know I'm casting a wide net, but we got a lot more people talking on the good side of the ledger, and we've got a very desperate establishment on the other side of the ledger that's just trying any caper, any little half-baked story to try and keep our eye off the ball, to try and keep us unfocused or fighting amongst each other. Now that is unpleasant, but it's a good sign because their usual psych outs are failing, or at least if not failing, at least not as effective as they once were. They gave us bread and circuses way back in the Roman days, right? And today I watched the Dallas Cowboys take on the New York Giants. And a lot of people would say, oh, that's, politically, that's not a good thing. That's bread and circuses. That's keeping you diverted and you're not keeping your Congress in line. But it works both ways. When Americans have their diversions and their escapism and they enjoy it, they're also in a way less prone to the propaganda. They're not tuning in the news. They're tuning in the Dallas Cowboys. They don't care what CNN has to say. And they'll go all day on a day like this, Thanksgiving, without tuning in the news at all. And so on the one hand, they'll discuss things at the dinner table without the news TV trying to tell them what to think. But then when they do turn the TV on, they're not turning the news on. And then at the same time, there's this guy that I forget his name. He does that America Uncovered. It's kind of a witty, irreverent look at the news. He's kind of a younger guy. And he did a pretty good news segment on the decline of the media. I mean, across the board, USA Today losing readers, New York Times losing readers, CNN losing viewers. That ship is sinking. And I've said this before, not as fast as we'd like. And they artificially inflate it with all this money. And I think they're willing to lose money on the media because the media propaganda enables them to make money somewhere else. I think that's why there's this paradox that the establishment runs this media system, and a lot of them aren't even turning a profit. Well, we say to that, why? Well, I think the answer is because the effect of the propaganda helps them profit somewhere else, so they're willing to lose money in the media. But they can only do that for so long, right? You can only suffer so many losses for so long, no matter how beneficial it might be. So
Yeah.
as all this converges, if Americans in particular, not just Americans, but if Americans in particular can just turn that television off much more often, enjoy their escapism, enjoy their games, enjoy their breads and circuses, just don't listen to the damn news, or if you do, don't believe them. If we can just reach that threshold, no amount of money that they throw into these projects is going to sway us anymore. In other words, the only thing that the establishment really has is money. That buys the media power, and of course they originate the money, the actual issuing of money. That's pretty powerful. But if all the money in the world can no longer convince us of their lies, then the advantage that their money bestows on them will no longer be that advantageous to them. And so it won't matter so much that they have all this wealth. That wealth is only powerful to them if they have some semblance of credibility, and they're losing that pretty quickly. So the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Yeah, I had a very robust discussion today with a gentleman again, and he mines the border. And one thing he told me, I'm a little hesitant to talk about it right now. Let me ponder that as we go through the show. It's pretty unsettling, but at any rate, yeah, I think I know in my own family there's a lot of discussion, and I think with my sister and her husband, who's a Gulf War vet, I think people are becoming much more conversant in the restaurants. I've heard some very interesting restaurant conversations that I overhear. And when we engage in them, like when me and Ron Avery go out to one of our favorite restaurants in Seguin, we'll talk about politics, and rather loudly, so other tables will hear. We're not bashful about it. So that's sort of a circuitous answer to your question. But yeah, I feel and see and hear and have seen evidence of what you're talking about for sure.
Yeah. And we've seen, if anything can be learned at this point, just the general hesitancy of everybody to latch on to a media narrative at this point, because they've had some big ones just fall on their face, just like big politicized story after big politicized story. And it's like they're literally changing the narrative openly in everybody's faces now, and putting reporters on suspension for going against the narrative. Not like they're out there going rogue or anything like that, more just like a retraction without a retraction. Just, I mean, between the Pelosi case, between the Colorado Springs shooting, and then compare that to the Southern California SUV accident with the 25 cadets. I mean, there's just so many stories out there that Ukraine. I mean, we can just name one after another, and it's just like it's so easy to just be like, all right, that was a false narrative. There again, false narrative, and no information available to the public other than the narrative peddlers there in the mass media who get exclusive access to the narrative, but never want to give us, like, why are we still waiting on badge cam footage for Pelosi? We waited like over 60 days for the Uvalde footage, and then it comes out edited and redacted, and no audio. It's just for for our poor sensibilities, we couldn't hear the audio on that. But then you go watch Netflix and they'll be torturing people and cutting their toenails off.
If I may get in a little more, Ron Avery and I talk about that. They're so concerned about our sensibilities, and any given night, late at night, sometimes not late at night, things on Netflix, things on Hulu, things on regular TV. Yeah, torture, murder, beheadings, some of it quite gory. A lot of these crime scene investigation shows will show very explicit pictures of what looks like a cadaver going through an autopsy. They'll pop an eye out and, you know, throw it up and down or something. And yet we're supposed to be so sensitive that we can't handle a bunch of cops going into a school where you actually see nothing. You know, you don't even see bullets flying. You certainly don't see any blood. And we're told that we just can't handle it. Ron even talked about, you know, Sandy Hook. They warned the audience about, you know, a sensitive thing way back at the Sandy Hook thing. And all they did was show a gun. And the audience was supposed to shriek in horror, but all they did was show a gun in a trunk. Ron was recounting this to me. And so, yeah, they've got this weird idea that we can't handle even the slightest scenario that even suggests something violent. And it's absolute insanity. But there was something else.
If you're watching on cable TV, you can just channel up to Univision and like watch a children's cartoon, and then there'll be a news break in the middle of it, and they'll show you like a, you know, a decapitated body laying next to the train tracks, and you like there's just all this gnarliness, you know. So they know they don't care.
One other thing is like changing narratives, like the gay club in Colorado Springs. Well, there's anomalies, you know, what different pictures of the building show that it's old and quite surprisingly small. And there's different things like on the internet, you know, where you have comments about places to go and, hey, they got good food and things like that in different social media areas. The last content about that bar was 7 years old that was posted about promoting, you know, hey, come out tonight, or, you know, little notes among people. Or something on the internet about their hours or about their entertainment. And there's all those anomalies. And then they say that the shooter was this anti-gay guy that went on a rampage. But then now his lawyers are saying that he's non-binary.
Yeah, I know. It fell apart on him.
Yeah, and the Washington Post, I've seen a little bit where the Washington Post is just day to day just coming up with these new things. The Walmart shooter in Chesapeake, Virginia, assuming what we're told is true, one report on one day said like a emotionless, no, without emotion, like an automaton, like a robot just going through the motions. He shot his fellow workers in this meeting room. Then the next day, the story is he was laughing almost like a madman.
Dude, did you see the pictures of the Colorado Springs guy when they brought him into the court? They're showing these really dodgy pictures, and the guy looks like incoherent. He looks like he's just unconscious, basically. I mean, and that they've got the narrative going that yeah, two people beat him up in the club after he did what he did, but I mean, it's days later, and I'm seeing a picture of this guy, and he can't even hold his head up straight. I mean, he does not look. There's so many things wrong with this one. I saw footage of a guy in a hospital bed saying that he had been shot 7 times in the back. And maybe that's true, maybe that's not, but they're saying this was an AR-15 that was used, and I'm having a hard time believing this guy's like a part of this investigation, first of all, if everything's above board and that really happened to him, and he's allowed to be like live streaming on Instagram going, I got shot 7 times in the back at that club in this incident, you know, or what? Like, what is that all about? Like, that's really odd. And never mind the fact that he's sitting upright, doesn't have a shirt on. I don't see any exit wounds. He doesn't appear to be in grave health, emergency. And I don't know, man. Anyway, it's like the narrative has flipped twice on that one. The Pelosi thing, it was like first the guy broke in and broke the door with broke into the glass to get inside and snuck upstairs, and then all this happened, and then it turned into no, actually, Paul. No, it was the second one. Yeah, the cops. Someone else was there and called the cops, and the cops came. And then the third one was Pelosi himself opened the door for the cops, and we don't know how. Oh yeah, and the cops broke the glass was one of the other stories. It's just like how can you believe any story? I don't care what your bias is in all these things. Like, how can anyone trust these agencies when they can just take a massive politicized story like that? Same with FTX with Sam Bankman-Fried. Like, they're trying to softball this one now, and it's like they keep having to change the narrative on it. It's just amazing to watch them do that and think they can get away with it over and over again. Infidel, what do you think, man?
This is excuse me. This SBF
Oh wow!
story is actually going is
I didn't
going to
realize
blow.
Infidel was here.
Hey Mark, how are you doing, man?
Hey, Infidel.
Yeah, we
I
have.
was looking at the picture and I didn't realize it was you. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, Mark, real
Uh,
quick, we have special Thanksgiving names, and Creative Accidents was wondering if you wanted to come up with one. So
Um,
if you wanted to change your name, you can just do it with the 3 dots over your picture on the bottom left hand, the little video preview of yourself where it says you're in the show.
oh,
So
really?
yeah, so that's why you didn't know Infidel was here, because he's Angry Birds today. Okay,
Yeah, I
there
could
you
go
go.
with no agenda. I thought about.
There you go. All right. Sorry, Angry Birds. Go ahead.
no worries. No, this SBF story is actually. I think I think this is the last blow that's actually going to hopefully will put a nail in these guys' coffin. Um, with the narrative change they are doing right now, and actually people are already fired up against it, and they see the corruption case, and they are all the narrative right now in the mainstream media is just, as you said, like softening the whole incident, and they're just going to make him walk away. Even Elon Musk is calling them on it on Twitter. So I don't know. I think it's gonna blow up in their face really bad. Um,
Let's hope so.
yeah.
It should. I mean, if everything is as nasty as it appears, it's, Epstein level corruption that should be explored from top to bottom. And I'm glad I guess that's what I'm kind of was referring to with the question that got us here, you guys. It's just like all of a sudden, uh, you can have that conversation at over turkey on Thanksgiving, perhaps, regardless of if you're sitting there with your normie friends or your apolitical friends or your Democrat friends or whatever. It's just like it's getting pretty dang obvious that we cannot follow the bouncing narrative of the mass media. Right, Gravy Man?
That's right.
Any
It's
stories falling apart.
all gravy. I don't know. But what does it mean? Like, nothing changes again, like, so here we are, they're completely falling on their faces, but they are the gatekeepers. They own the narrative. Like, what do they care if they just keep falling on their faces like this? They don't care. You know what I mean? At what point do the people hold their feet to the fire and hold them to task? And how do they do that? Do they vote with their wallets, as it were, and just stop watching? I mean, wasn't there, which one of these loser networks was it that had an app for like 24 hours? And then they're like, well, nobody signed up and it failed. Was it
CNN.
CNN?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. See what I mean? Like, so people are already not watching. They don't care, but the advertisers also don't care. They're going to keep throwing money into CNN, like brought to you by Pfizer. So these stupid networks are never gonna go away. Never, ever, ever, ever. You know what I mean? Like, even if nobody watched them, they're still gonna be there. So I don't know. I guess it's good if nobody watches them, right? Like, because Mark was saying, like, take the money out of it, right? And that would solve the problem. Well, be careful what you wish for, Mark, because they do want all the money to go away. They want all the money to go away. So once all the money is gone and all of the influence that comes with it goes away, instead, now there's the control of the fact that the money makers can just turn it on and off with the flick of a switch. So I guess they're just going to replace one game with another game, I guess. I don't know. I'm so confused.
I
Oh,
think
by
it's
the way,
about losing the influence.
to a lot of your points tonight so far, gentlemen, Mark Twain, just wanted to quote him, one of my favorite quotes. If you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you read the newspaper, you're misinformed.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, no
So,
doubt about it. Yeah, it's a tricky thing. I'll mention too. Ron Avery and I on my RBN show the other day, because it fits what we're talking about so much. We're organizing an online conference, kind of a mini conference, probably for the early spring, about only about the media, not myriad other topics, only about the media. And our intent is to produce a report based on what we discuss, based on the input we get. I'm probably going to sort of MC it. We want to produce a report that breaks down exactly what the broadcast media is, how licensing works, what their network looks like, how it's constructed, kind of an anatomy of the mass media cartel. And we really want to get at their justification to get these massive licenses that give them the power to control the airwaves. And so we're kind of excited about it. Ron has already written up kind of a guidelines thing that I'm going to be reading tomorrow when I get up and have my coffee. And we'll keep you guys posted, obviously keep you in the loop, but we're pretty excited about what we're going to learn. And we want to get it to where we can issue quarterly, biannual, or at least annual reports. And these reports would be designed to have components within them, or the entire report, to submit to the FCC. Because we argue that if you want to have that kind of dissemination of your media message, like CBS, NBC, ABC, to where you can reach a television set in all the corners of the United States, and have that kind of broadcast power, that you have to, in return for that license, the condition of that license has to be that you must present all sides of an issue. You can't have some overriding agenda. If you have an agenda, then that means you're a advocacy journalism, and advocacy journalism would not be suited, at least theoretically, would not be suitable for full nationwide, full board dissemination of a message. It would have to be total neutrality. If you're going to have Fauci on, you're going to have Dr. Robert Malone on at the same time, or Peter McCullough. None of this, one side only, monopolistic medical system. No more of that, because that would break the conditions of your license. And then another question to ask is the degree to which Big Pharma is advertising on television right now is unprecedented. The FCC also has to look at just how much Big Pharma advertising must take place before the stations that use that advertising fall under the influence of Big Pharma. See, all of this should be under the purview of the FCC. It is a internationalist, globalist media organization, illicitly and inappropriately commandeering the airwaves. The answer is yes, but it shouldn't be. And is that media organization and its affiliates, are they unduly influenced by the Big Pharma ads that they're running in more and more degrees, much more of that kind of advertising? And the answer is an obvious yes, but also that shouldn't be happening. See, and I'll admit, this is a bit of a reach. I understand that, Gravy Man. I'll call you that for now. I'll use our pseudonyms here. But strictly speaking, that kind of media, the one we have now that is obviously internationalist, globalist, and has a clear agenda, but denies it and acts like it's neutral in order to get those licenses, and is so heavily imbued with Big Pharma's advertising, all of this should be completely off limits. That all of that should be in violation of any kind of broadcast code that would allow them top billing national dissemination. And yet they're getting that kind of dissemination with this kind of illicit influence and their illicit agenda that they cloak and hide and act like they're the real news and they're neutral. And in fact, their advocacy journalism every bit as much as I am, although advocacy for me would just be basically constitutionality at its core. And actually, that's the one thing that journalists should advocate is a sound reading of the Constitution, but they can't even do that. But it just kind of fell into my lap that this would be a good night to announce what Ron and I want to try and do. This media is getting in the way of reforming and saving our country, and by extension, the world. They are a very illicit and harmful influence. What they do by standing in the way of getting the truth about COVID, by basically promoting or promulgating wars, promoting racial strife, promoting racial disunity. All the things they do cause harm and death and loss of property. On a daily basis, the media fosters death, harm, loss of property, and civil breakdown. On top of everything else I've been saying about big pharma advertising and them hiding their not so neutral agenda. So it's not just that we're being told lies, it's that the mass media cartel is literally a deadly thing. That's the thing that we've got to come to grips with. They are causing death on a daily basis.
Yeah, and it sucks because they work hand in glove with so many other large institutions, and they're all pushing that same thing. Go ahead, Angry Birds. I saw you unmute there.
Yeah, it's the role of the media, especially in the last, say when, since I'll say the last year of Obama. I think that's really when it started amplifying quite a bit, and I think that's when he revoked the executive order, or he put the executive order where they allows him actually to start putting disinformation against America. Do you know what I'm talking about? You know the executive orders that Obama put
It was
in
the
place in his
Smith-Mundt
last
Act.
year? Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
He really, yep. And I think since then, the amount of disinformation that the media have been bombarding the American population with is been causing so much damage, as Mark is saying. It's causing death. It's causing disintegration of our society. The civil war right now and the madness that's happening between the different factions of our society is due to the media and due to their mad centralization of everything. They put everyone in a state of frenzy. They put everybody in a state of continuous fear, and that's what they've been doing. And they weaponize this, and that's how they basically are able to get everybody under their spell. And what I'm hoping is hopefully people can wake up and that sphere of influence can decrease. There is always will be, I would say, 25% brainwashed on either side, right, with the media. But hopefully we will gain some more people outside of their domain of influence. I just want to mention just pretty disturbing statistics I read today. Not to drag us into something, but I was wondering about the number of vaccinated children from COVID in the US. And the number that I'm reading is there is 58% of children between age of 6 months and 17 years old are already vaccinated. This is like I cannot remove that number from my mind so far. Like who, as a parent, under what influence would you take such a decision? And this is something I would blame the media for. Because this is a state of fear that they put those parents in, and they cause them to take such an action, and this like give their kids 58% of our new generation are already GMOs, already have gene therapy done to them. And talk about the impact of this on the society. This is criminal, and this is what the media has done and caused people to take those decisions under the influence of those big pharma. It's unforgivable. It is unforgivable, and I don't know who's going to hold them accountable.
I know, man. And it's like, and we're sitting here talking about giving the WHO authority to call the next pandemic or the next emergency situation. Like, they fucked everything up. All these agencies screwed everything up, and the media was along with them the whole way. Look at this out of the Washington Post just yesterday. Listen to this headline. COVID is no longer mainly a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Here's why. And they go on to basically say that it is vaccinated people that are now the primary group of people that are dealing with this. The dreaded WAPO, they would have canceled themselves if they had seen that come up in their feed just what, I don't know, 8 months ago, Ruckus, something like that.
Medical misinformation. Medical
Yeah,
misinformation.
they would have had to they would have had to fact check themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't
But you,
get it.
but you see,
They
if even if when if you read the article at the end of it, they make the argument that you should still get vaccinated.
Right.
And the reason
It's
why
like
the vaccinated people are more dying more because there are more people that are vaccinated, which is the argument against the damn freaking vaccination. It just does not make any sense.
they're basically telling you to go kill yourself, please. They're just like, oh, this is not great for you, but you should still go do it. I mean, they're
It's like
admitting this all
it,
over the place now.
exactly. It has no impact. You can still die, but you have to go get vaccinated. That's exactly what they're saying in this article.
And all the vaccinated people are really quiet now because they and everyone they know who are like them have all tested positive on their little PCR tests like 6 times since their second jab and fourth booster. So they know, like in real life, that all the stuff that they heard from the mass media and from Emperor Fauci were lies.
Yeah. And then he comes out in a booth like what last week and saying that I argue everybody to go get vaccinated and get their latest boosters.
Mm-hmm.
It's,
But you don't have to, dude. Infidel. It's okay, you know? Just like they say, remember I'm sure by now you've heard, I mean, we all know that the FDA was telling everybody, don't take ivermectin. You can't
mhm,
take
mhm.
ivermectin is only for, no, you can't do, no. We're hearing now news that guidance for people to stop taking ivermectin, it was informal and just a recommendation.
Yeah, no worries.
So, yeah, no, we're not telling you have to take the jab, that you have to get boosted. It's just a suggestion.
Like people don't
In
remember
fine
last
print.
year's people don't remember last year's arguments at the Thanksgiving tables over that because that's when they were doing that stuff. They're like, "Oh, you're gonna do horse dewormer, you're an idiot," you know. And it's just now
Yeah,
this year,
yeah.
it's just like there it is. So
Or
sorry,
even hydroxychloroquine. You remember
right?
that whole
Same with
thing?
yep,
Like
right,
how they like grilled Trump for so many like months and
right.
called
Well,
everybody that talks about hydroxychloroquine or even vitamin D.
yeah,
I just saw an article. Uh, I forgot which one of those mainstream publications. The title of the article is COVID has disappeared in Africa and only 6% are vaccinated and it's baffling scientists. I'm like, who are those fucking morons? Why are they baffling them? It's right in front of their.
you have a control group.
The
Oh man,
FDA created a website called Why You Should Not Use Ivermectin to Treat or Prevent COVID-19.
right?
They posted a link to it on their Twitter, writing, "You are not a horse. You are not a cow. Seriously, y'all, stop it." But it's okay because that was just a recommendation.
Right. And it is something that is at least safe and effective, maybe necessary, I don't know, but we know it's from its record that it's safe and effective. It's been proven for a long time. It's available on generic. It doesn't make tens of people die. And what do they give people instead? They give them this other experimental drug, this remdesivir crap, and that
which
has
has
harmed
horrible side effects.
tons of people,
Horrible side
terrible
effects.
side effects, like a coin flip if you even survive to some estimates. And yeah, and then thousands of dollars per pill on that stuff, scary, scary stuff. I think that's what the fake Trump COVID experience and the fake Bojo COVID experiences were. I think those were to kind of like laugh in people's faces, like, yeah, I took a little hydroxychloroquine, but I also took the remdesivir. It's a miracle drug, and it's just like, okay, nice sales.
Meanwhile, getting the real stuff, the vitamin shots, the good stuff,
Right.
whatever those people are taking, we're not taking. I want what they're on. They're on some good stuff. Well, I don't want the adrenochrome and all that, but
No, no. No, like
um,
yeah, like the Joe Rogan level package, that care package where it's like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, vitamin shot, vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, whatever.
yeah, what's that bill again in California with the doctor? You're gonna lose your
It's
license.
AB 2098.
Jeez, all these damn numbers. Okay. We need a nickname for it. This is this bill is ridiculous and should not pass. That's the name of this bill.
Let the corporation entrap your doctor bill.
Okay, so
Mhm.
here's the thing. Like in the next time there's an issue of like, okay, where your doctor would normally do what doctors time immemorial have been doing since the existence of prescription drugs. They're going to prescribe something to you as a unique individual, specific to your illness, your symptoms and all that stuff, instead of getting the broad brush, and in this case the jab versus the ivermectin. And here we hear them say, "Oh, you're not a horse, this is for horses." And doctors have been prescribing this for people for all sorts of things all the time, even though it may be recommended for the use of horses. Was a common practice that the medicines are used for multiple things, and it's going to just get branded and packaged with the number one usage. Like when I had some, dental, all my teeth removed and all that fun stuff back in the years ago, they prescribed a specific anti. Oh no, wait a minute. Not antibiotic. Damn it. What is it? What's it called when they give you the stuff so you don't get
Like
the
the
infection?
antiseptic.
No, it was an anti. Like penicillin is one of them.
That's an antibiotic.
Antibiotic. Oh, okay. So they prescribed me one that is normally prescribed for people suffering from like chlamydia, if I'm not mistaken, specifically like a venereal disease. And I was just like, why are y'all prescribing this one? Because I thought it was weird, because it's even kind of in the name. It was like a chlamydia something, I can't remember what it is, but it was an incredibly powerful antibiotic, and in fact, it knocked out a lot of my gut bacteria, and I had some issues there. But yeah, it's just like, I don't, I don't know. I'm just saying that, like, you don't, just because some people are using this stuff in the veterinary field or for the horses or the doctors. I mean, yeah, it doesn't mean that when the doctors were trying to prescribe it for COVID and other illnesses successfully, even upon recommendation by like the military and stuff back in the day for various things. Yeah, it's just silly, but they're going to get rid of that now. See, now you can't do that. So now the only option next time is that you prescribe your patients the expensive, untested, jibby jab style mRNA, big bucks prescriptions that, otherwise you're going to lose your license, because if you prescribe the other stuff, it's medical misinformation or disinformation. I forget which one of the two that you're supposed to not do.
They're both listed.
Oh, well, there you go. So
Right.
And
So,
by the way, one more thought I had about the fixing the mainstream news problem is we need to stop calling it news. We need to have a law passed that says that whatever the mainstream media is in its current form can no longer be called news. And so it'd be like against the law for them to say breaking
Yeah.
news. It's not.
Yeah. How about propatainment? Propatainment, like
Yeah,
propaganda and entertainment put together. Because it's pretty funny sometimes, when you cut away the fact that it is leading to people making terrible life decisions and destroying families and destroying countries and financial systems and cultures and all that, aside from that, LOL.
call it whatever the hell you want. Just stop calling it the news.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Yeah, so interesting to see them softballing all that one with the COVID now and that whole, that one kind of goes with that amnesty one, that Atlantic article where it was like, the headline and parts of it make it sound like, oh, we're being a little bit apologetic here, we're giving some leeway, but then at the end it's like the government should think about mandating kids to take this jab. And it's like, well, wait a minute. You guys are confusing everybody because now it says COVID is no longer mainly a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Here's why over there. You guys are confusing everybody with this stuff. And I think that's the name of the game, is just kind of keep everybody in wonderland, keep as many people, riding around on their motorcycles without a helmet, but wearing a surgical diaper face thing on there, that kind of thing, for as long as they can, right? So they can sell as many of these. And that's why they're not going to lift the emergency order until next year, even though the Senate wanted it lifted already. I still can't believe that one, Ruckus. They're just like, nah, that's cool. We're going to keep it going.
It's just the emergency powers, right? It has nothing to do with the actual pandemic. You know, they're not saying like, oh yeah, there's still a virus around and it's still a. No, they're just saying, we still keep the powers.
Right. Right.
Okay.
When did we ever
Cool.
take powers and give it back to you?
I know. When are people going to learn that one?
I think they're starting to wake up now, don't you think?
I think so. I mean, I think that's essentially kind of the theme tonight. I hope. Listen to here's a headline for you guys. Creative Accidents put this one in the live BR chat. Jacinda Ardern partners with Bill Gates to roll out digital IDs. Oh, right in time with that, that whole thing with the WEF that was going on last week that we talked about.
We need to be more like China.
Gotta be more like China. Yep. Oh yeah. Bill's doing that thing where he's like sniffing his lower lip. He's like doing that like Muppet face thing where he pulls his whole lower jaw like up into his nose and sniffs it there next to Jacinda. Oh God, she's not looking well either. Both of them. They need to get off that soy slop diet or whatever is doing that. That is not a good look. But yeah, the digital IDs. What do you expect? Some reptiles rolling out digital IDs. We all know what they have planned for that. That's part of the track and trace, right? That's part of your social credit, all that good stuff, right? Infidel. See how
Yep.
many burgers you can have before you lose social credit per month.
Well, and it's the same time when they are like playing with that central digital currency. It's really scary. It's all coming together
Yeah.
so freaking fast.
Yeah. And then this
So fast.
mysterious crash of FTX, whether that's organic or not, once getting a little bit questionable, and everybody's starting to look at all the other crypto agencies and go, well, wait a minute. Those guys weren't exactly liquid. What are you guys doing? So it's kind of a tension building, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's if people didn't wake up, that this is going to creep in pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean,
Mm-hmm.
dude? I mean, they're doing the test right now. They got like all these banks and the Fed involved with the digital dollar
Yeah.
for 12 weeks or something.
Yeah, they're rolling it out. There's one in China they're working on right now too. They're talking about going pretty big with in the new year.
Yeah, we're past.
People should not. Go ahead.
I'm just saying we're past like it's coming. It's pretty much here.
Yeah, that China's looking down again, and it's really crazy what they are doing over there right now.
Yeah, all
And you
these
can
places
see
that do the zero COVID protocol shit are just like freaky, absolutely freaky.
it is full control. It is you can see it like the CCP is freaking out because of they're expecting some economical unrest, and that's when like in China when things start going really. Someone said that I heard it from one of the other shows. Only time that emperors get thrown out of the throne from China is when economics turn really bad. So you can see like, and they know there's something is going to get hit there. So all what's happening right now is for the full control, and the same thing they are putting that in the same time when the economical conditions are going to start hitting really bad. So everybody wants to be ready. Same like how in Canada they shut down the Freedom Convoy and froze everybody's bank accounts.
Yep, stole
So get
people's
ready
money.
for that to happen.
Yep, I heard. I don't know. I haven't verified this, but I heard shit like that's going on in Brazil to some of the people that are organizing. Because there's mass protests in Brazil over this Bolsonaro win. I mean, lose. I mean, we don't really know, but the people protesting certainly think it was stolen. Very interesting to see that kind of being ghosted over by the mass media. Huge crowds. They're estimating over 3 million people in some cases, and I
Didn't
think
they
I
storm his house and like throw him out and everything? Or
Oh man, yeah, all kind of crazy stuff going on. I'm having a hard time tracking it. Last I saw it was a couple days ago, and it was just this massive protest. So I need to get the update on that.
it was an interesting. We've seen some of these. This isn't the only one. There was other places recently where people stormed the government. You know, the head of
Yeah.
the leaders like personal mansions and swimming in their swimming pools, and just say, you effed up, buddy. You're out of here. Scoot on out. Next.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I remember that one. I remember that one. Definitely. But yeah, this one's this one's interesting because the crowds are fucking huge, dude. But yeah, this is Brazil. I haven't looked at it in a couple days, but man, like, you don't see anything like that here in this country. Nope. Nope, nope, nope.
Yeah, and then they keep bringing up the Jan 6 thing, and you look at that in comparison to what's happening in other places around the world, and you're like,
Mhm.
okay.
So different.
You see the politicians like, oh, we almost lost her. Our country almost fell. They almost took, all these horrible images and words they try. It was worse than 9/11, worse than Pearl Harbor. It was the scariest thing. I thought I was going to die, says AOC and
Mhm.
Nancy Pelosi and all these people. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
Even
I know.
even people that I used to like, and could stand behind some of the things they used to say politically and whatnot, like Jesse Ventura. He's one of these. He's shocked me. I don't know if you saw this, but he thinks all the Jan 6 people are terrorists.
I'm not surprised to hear that.
What?
I thought he was
Okay.
libertarian.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but
Hmm.
apparently he's got a problem with people who go outside and protest and then are let in by Fed boys, and Capitol Police, and led around and walk between the velvet ropes and the planted retards like the Buffalo Man and whatever happened to Nancy Pelosi's laptop, that whole thing. I don't know.
Mhm. Mhm. Well,
But
that story.
clearly all of the people, but he believes that everyone that attended and was out there, all the people, every single one of them, they're all terrorists and all need to be locked up and they have the key thrown away. I think is actually his words.
So so he didn't talk about the fact that it's now open public source information that one of the organizers of the Proud Boys was a federal informant, and that there were, I think, 5 federal informants inside of the Oath Keepers organization, and all this other stuff that he doesn't address any of those facts, and he just believes that all those organizations are organically grown and populated, and they tried to do an insurrection. Huh? That's
I,
Jesse's
I
take.
I don't know because I don't follow the man. I only
I don't
caught him by
either. Wow.
accident because he was on RT when they still had a YouTube channel going.
Yeah, yeah, that's kinda last I saw him too.
I think they got yanked off there, but yeah, I don't think he messes with them anymore either. He was just. I was like, man, this guy just doesn't fit with the rest of some of these people, and like I'm like, what happened to this guy? He used to be like a pretty cool, willing to do the conspiracy theory kind of thing, and somebody who he used to be like. Remember, he wrote like a book, like he thinks both sides of the political party were corrupt, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Republicans and Crips or whatever he called it, like compared them to gangs. But how can you now be back into that that polarization and that idea that people who went out and voted and felt that they were cheated and went to protest it, and then, you know, the normal shenanigans that always happen. Everybody knew that was going to happen. That's why so many people are out there filming it, watching it happen. We have evidence that it did happen. You know what I mean? All the shenanigans, and it still doesn't matter. Same thing with speaking of voting process. Now we have all this evidence of shenanigans happening again, but no, you can't look at the evidence of shenanigans, because to talk about that, or for there to be the existence of it, the emperor has no clothes. Nope, nope, nope. You're all an election denier, and so are we, because we're just going to freaking ignore it.
Yeah, they'll plead the fifth. I can't answer that. Sorry about that. Privileged information. All this privileged information when it really comes to it. And check this out. Gateway Pundit has this one out. Let's see here. New video of Ray Epps on January 6th uncovered by Jason Goodman at Crowdsource the Truth. Epps brushes past another man making hand signals here. So they've got a whole article. They've got video here. So it's, I don't know. It's just absurd, man. It's absurd that people still buy that narrative. I mean, it's absolutely insane. But they keep changing that one. You know, they'll admit openly that they've got feds in there and whatever. You know, I guess that stuff's inadmissible when it really comes down to it.
No, Christopher Wray refused to answer that question just recently,
Yeah.
by the way. They won't admit
again.
it. They won't
Right.
admit it.
Yeah. Nope. They'll just say, no, I can't answer that. Sorry. And we all just, you know, wait. Okay. All right. But
yeah, I'm sorry. I guess they won't admit it, but they also won't deny it. So
right. But they're still going to hold 800 people or whatever and go through all this media rigmarole and, you know, skull plug everybody into thinking this really went down the way they said it went down, and not holding people responsible that were working from the inside. Clearly, I mean, it's not a theory. They're just saying it, saying, yeah, these people work for us. Well, if they worked for you and you knew that was going to happen, why didn't you guys shut it down before it happened? I don't know. Just asking for a friend. Hey, Mark, welcome back. I mean, Noah Jenda, welcome back to the show. How you doing there?
Oh, pretty well. I had to tend to some matters here, but I'm kind of in the what they call the middle of the conversation. I think I get the gist of it, certainly about election denial. Yeah, the election thing is paradoxical. On the one hand, you want honest elections if you're going to have them. Otherwise, why have them at all? And I won't go into the litany of things, or at least the fundamentals that would have to happen for the elections to be honest. But they've got it now, as Gravy Man was saying here a minute ago, that to even raise the issue at all, much less pursue it, is some sort of heresy. To say that elections are less than crystal clear, you know, less than perfectly honest. And I contemplated, okay, let's say the media wants to ignore the 2020 election situation because they hate Trump so much, which is pretty much where the rub is. But you would think they would take an interest, at the very least, regardless of who the candidates are, regardless of who wins or loses, in just the basic dysfunction and malfunction of a lot of the voting machines, even if it doesn't reach the threshold of having enough of a problem to overturn the election results. It's kind of analogous to a boat, right? Okay, your boat's taking on water, not enough to sink, but wouldn't you be interested, wouldn't you be curious, nevertheless, that your boat is taking on water? Right? And so the media is not even curious about, well, we don't believe there was enough election trouble, they say, to change Biden and Trump around, for Biden to have to concede and for Trump to remain president. We don't think there was enough of a problem. Okay, how much of a problem are you willing to admit at all? Do you think the elections are so perfect that there's nothing to look for here, even if it doesn't rise to the threshold of changing the outcome? So it's like the media is not even interested in the basic malfunctions that voting machines might go through, tabulation problems, technical problems, they seem to think that if they even talk about relatively minor but persistent technical problems, that will somehow suggest that the entire electoral process is corrupt. So they won't even look into the car needing an oil change, so to speak. They act like to suggest that the car has a slight problem is to suggest the entire car needs to be junked. If you follow me, they won't even admit that there is just basic dysfunctions. Machines that stop working and have to be rebooted, over and over and over again. Tabulators that stop working. All of that is well known, and it may not mean that Trump actually won in 2020, but they won't even acknowledge that. And the evidence, even if the outcome wouldn't change, the evidence for ongoing problems at all elections is overwhelming. Some smaller, some larger. I mean, they actually act like the elections are perfect. And no human institution is perfect.
No, but there's some simple solutions that are being, recommended, especially in places where these same problems keep happening over and over again, like Arizona, right? But from what I can tell, I've learned a lot this time around during these midterm elections.
Yeah.
It's the mail-in voting is the issue. And you look at it, correct me if I'm wrong here, Hesher, but Florida doesn't do that, right?
Yeah, they limited it massively to people that needed it, basically.
Right. Yeah, I'm not saying it's not there. It's just it's
they
being
did it old
used
school.
the normal way that's always been
Right.
used in the pre-pandemic times, and now
And
it's
they
like,
verified.
why do we
they
keep
verified the ballots.
doing this stuff? See, what I'm not saying like I guess another expression for what you were talking about, Mark, is don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? So
Yeah, absolutely.
why don't we fix these little problems like the tabulator machines, for instance, the process why can't there be a system of checks in place to double check on the poll workers? There are places that ran out of paper ballots. These things, there should be all of these things set in place. It's not that difficult. Freaking people can run companies and stuff. We can figure out how to count votes. So clearly there's a problem, and let's just tackle the problems first. And then if the shenanigans keep happening, if they're limited to just bold-face, obvious, like, hey, we're caught on film, kind of corruption and shenanigans, then great. Then let them stand on, let them be dealt with then, I suppose.
You nailed it exactly. There's all sorts of sundry miscellaneous problems that could be immediately fixed to raise confidence in elections. And then the media, you would think the media would want to pursue that tooth, fang, and claw to, how would you say, to placate those that have serious concerns, and then everybody could be, at least a little more confident of the elections and their outcomes. But yeah, they completely avoid all the protocols and relatively simple things, such as Florida limiting mail-in ballots to, the normal absentee ballot regulations. All those things could be done, and there would be a lot more confidence in that. And then if there was a theft, if somebody did try to steal, it'd be harder to do. And if it did happen, it'd be more obvious, and it could be corrected. See, so that's even more proof that elections are being stolen, that they don't want to even fix some of the miscellaneous problems. They want everything to be fluid. And so we really can't get a handle on elections. And then there'll be so many bells and whistles, so many things going wrong, big things, small things, medium things, that it'll be almost impossible to nail down, well, was this election stolen or not? And then if the outcome sounds a little unbelievable, we're just sort of seduced into accepting it. But yeah, so we can't even do any maintenance on the system. That's how they're stealing, and how they're lying, is they want it purposely dysfunctional, so it makes it harder to figure out what exactly happened.
And they want it to fail so that they could roll in with these solutions that are all going to play right into the hands of their fourth industrial revolution.
Yeah, and there's selections. If it fails, they can put selections in the place of elections, as you put it so well.
Yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess, and the problem is that there is evidence. The evidence is there, but they won't look at it. The people I've spoke to, the Greg Stenstrom, fraud expert, and Leah Hoops, poll watcher in Delaware County, Pennsylvania, they have they have like 96 pieces of evidence that show all kind of crazy stuff happening. The loss of chain of custody of the V drives, for example, which essentially is the vote coming out of one of those machines. They lose chain of custody of that thing. They also have people admitting to doing things. Their claim is that they have video and audio of people admitting to doing things. Their lawyers admitting to doing things and laughing about it. They have paperwork, all kind of stuff showing. And I asked him. He called into my show on the 8th, and I said, that's what happened in 2020. They wrote a book about it. It's called Parallel Election. And I asked him on election day. He called in live from there where he was doing the same thing. I said, "What's going on this year?" And he said the same stuff. And the thing is, the DAs up there, they don't want to see that stuff. Like, they got lawyers, they got other poll watchers involved. They built a great case. They have all their evidence, but the DA says there's nothing to see. But the DA's never asked to look at the evidence. So it's like, where do you go from there? You're just firewalled.
Yeah, you
And it's not just
approach
that.
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Mark. Go ahead, Mark. You go ahead, Mark.
Over to no agenda.
I was just saying, yeah. So you're a citizen and you see one particular problem at your election. You're a poll watcher or you're just a citizen, and you're not saying that the entire election was stolen, but you want this one problem of some significance. You approach your DA, and he's not even willing to look at that. See, that reinforces what I'm saying. You're not making some big claim that the election was stolen. You're just trying to say, well, if we fix this and fix that, then our elections will be that much better. And I'm just trying to be a good citizen. And the DA is just slamming the door in people's faces, no matter what their claims are. Larger problems, smaller. So the entire electoral process has just been thrown into a tailspin, and it's so they can mold the outcome whatever they want and keep everyone bewildered about what's going on. But then if you look at it deeper, you wonder about the whole concept of an election in a way, right? You think, well, okay, 60 people vote for Bill, 40 people vote for Steve. Because 60 people voted for Bill and not as many for Steve, that must mean Bill's a better legislator. Really? Did the guy who gets 40 votes, is he really stupider? Or is it the electorate that's stupid? See, when you have a media like this and you give someone a ballot, and if someone believes what they see in the media and you hand them a ballot, are you advancing society? I mean, even if the election is counted accurately, does that result in better government? Because a majority of people do this and a minority vote against it. So whoever got the most votes wins, and that advances the cause of better government. You see what I mean? It's like a double entendre. We want honest elections, but elections themselves, the whole concept, is somewhat questionable.
Some of these are so narrow too, Mark. Like, if you look at that bill that passed up in Washington State, like 114, it's this insane gun control bill, and it was like just this thin margin. It was like 50.2% or 50.7% or something like that voted to have their rights violated and their property deemed illegal. That they it's just insane. It's like, when it's that thin of a margin. And there's another, there's this tactic that they've been talking about on Gateway Pundit called the drop and roll, where it's like they get in some of these key locations what they suspect and have documented happening is that they'll count everything from the opposing side if it's Democrat run or Democrat, they got Democrat DA there, Democrat lawyers back in the DNC, for the Democrat candidate and whatnot. Um, that they will like count everything or get their estimates, and then late at night there's a drop, which is a giant ballot of a box of mail-in ballots, and we know that they're sending those to dead people. We know they're like sending them in mass to like prisons and dormitories and apartments and not putting unit numbers on them, so they all just end up in one box there. They're never verified. They have all these little schemes, to get as many of these things out as possible, and then they drop those in, and then the roll is at that point for the rest of the race, there's a razor thin margin, and they just hold that margin as they can, continue to count for the next 2 days or whatever it takes them now. But it seems to be another tactic that should be looked at. And everywhere where and people are putting cases in on these things. People are still running cases and audits on the 2020 election. People are still being convicted of election fraud and other crimes from the 2020 election, and they're never discussed and they're never brought into the public eye, like as to who they were working with, that may still be out there doing political operations that are similar. They and all those DAs in these places and those armies of lawyers, they all seem to be in places where you've got Soros-backed DAs that got elected on campaigns that were worth tens of millions of dollars in many cases. And now we know that a bunch of those people were getting FTT tokens from Sam Bankman-Fried also, quite potentially.
Interesting.
So it's a problem when the people that need to address it are all basically activists in their positions. It's
I mean, why do you think they did what they did in Arizona this year? There is a reason. Because if Kerry Lake and Abraham Hamideh won that election, they would have cleaned up that whole Arizona mess. And the tactics was really very clear what they did in Arizona this year. Basically like disfranchising, same day voting, big lines. They have machines. I just heard this actually from Kerry Lake. They just filed a lawsuit. 60% of the printers were not certified in Maricopa County. They had printers that were not certified. The printers were printing ballots with the wrong size that the tabulating machine couldn't read it. This is this is the level that basically these guys are operating on.
Yeah, that's the thing. They've got like 900 different tactics they can use in a million different places, and they all seem like excusable or like you could write them off as an anomaly. But it's just like every year, we need to start a list of these things, like all the dumb excuses, all the oopsies, and and it goes back to the machine too, like Mark was indicating, because you can't trust anything if the machines aren't logic tested, and that's what Greg Stenstrom was telling me was they weren't even doing the LNA testing on the machines out there in Delaware County in Pennsylvania. So it's like if the cybersecurity posture is bad and they're not doing the logic test on the machine, you're screwed from there on out. But then on top of that, they have to layer all this other stuff in there, and it just turns into this whole thing, and it becomes difficult to prove. And then they have a PR campaign to demonize anybody that is, trying to ask the questions, and call you a denier.
Election denier.
Yeah, which unfortunately is a worse pejorative than many people realize, because there's a subliminal thing there about maybe being a Holocaust denier, because they've called people that name for so long. So, it really it's a slander, for the mass media to do that.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just want to go back to a point you mentioned that is really important. What the Democrat Party and the establishment, Republican, by the way, this is not like what's happening in Arizona. That was the establishment Republican machinery that McCain put in place. Those are the McCainites, as they call them. So this is an establishment tactics, right? That is basically were put in place to maintain power within the people that they select to be in place. But I think that what we've seen in 2020, and I think that's to your point there, Mark, is it is not about voters anymore. It's about ballots, right? There is a difference between a voter and just a ballot. A voter is someone that's actually making a decision, an educated decision based on evidence and based on programs and based on hearing a candidate, right? But what they are doing right now, it is purely mechanical ballot collection mechanism. And you saw that in Pennsylvania, for example, like what I think the number was like 60% already voted even before the debate happened between Fetterman and so it is scary, right? Because part of maintaining the republic is maintaining an educated voters, right?
Yeah.
And sadly, people are misinformed. Goes back to the same media cartels that we've been talking about, right? But we have to break through that.
Yeah, they misinform you, and then when you try to act independently and correct things, then they attack you.
Yeah.
So if you try to do what they don't do, if you try to fill in where they fail, then you're the problem. You're a denier, you're a skeptic, you're 1,000 different things. And what's being talked about here, like if the ballots are being printed the wrong size for the tabulators to read, that should be immediately corrected. Or any other, when you've got people that are voting before a debate even takes place, that's because of all this early voting. You don't need all that early voting. You know, there should be a concerted effort to make sure the electorate sees a debate before the ballots are cast. Otherwise, what's the purpose of televising the debate, right? The purpose of it is to inform the people before they vote. See, so
Yeah,
look at all the simple adjustments, logical things that could be done, but all of that is considered heresy now. You know, if you raise even the slightest correction, you're a denier. You know, and that's how you know they're stealing these things left, right, and center. Election theft has become institutionalized now. It appears.
Yeah, and they even refuse to debate. Like Hobbes refused to debate Carrie Lake. She did not want, but she knew the outcome already. There is a reason why she refused to debate. She didn't care about debating.
Right, you have that too. Right, she probably was tipped off. You know, don't worry. I think you're going to get in. We've got your back. You don't need to debate her. And then Carrie Lake, even though she's friends with Trump, and the media could say, "Oh yeah, she questions the whole system," but nevertheless, that doesn't negate her right to ask questions about her own election that she allegedly lost. In fact, Jim Condit Jr., who's been in the trenches longer than anybody on this, the candidate is the one who has the most legal standing to demand a recount. You know, if a candidate wants to demand a recount, that should be granted, no questions asked. That's their legal right. But now they just think, well, no, you're just a denier. You're not. You don't really think you need a recount. And then they come up with that narrative. You only question the election when you lose. If you win, you won't question it at all. Now, there might be some truth to that, human nature being what it is. But I trust Carrie Lake is asking for the right reasons. I hope I'm not wrong.
Well, here's one of the problems I was discussing with Patrick Henningsen recently is that now that people in positions like Katie Hobbs, right, the Secretary of State there, they're involved with in meetings with like the city council, the county recorder, DA's office, stuff like that. And what many of them have done is they've effectively centralized much of the rules for the voting process and taken on new aspects to them in the wake of in the lead up to the 2020 election, so that they could require all of this integration of the mail-in ballots. So now there's this whole, and that becomes a problem because now you've got that same group of people that are potentially in positions that would be the ones that could make things go wrong in a county, right? So if your county recorder and your DA and your oh shit, your which one was I just talking about? Your Secretary of State are all like activist level, and that Secretary of State is running for governor, just by the way, for an extra, WTF out of Arizona in their particular situation. But then you've got a massive group of people there who are all working towards the same goal, which is to centralize the rules on that voting, make the mail-ins integral, and then such that there is no way to do a revote because there's no time to work up a whole nother round of mail-ins and all that. It's just almost impossible to do under the new rules that they've put in there, all ostensibly because of COVID. But what a scam, what a vulnerability that leaves us. And then so what the Leah Hoops, the poll watcher, and Greg Stenstrom, the fraud expert, found in 2019 in the 2020 election was that, in a nutshell, they found improved fake ballots were substituted for real ballots, and that they used V drives to fabricate supplemented votes. And these people, they wrote a book. They filed cases in Supreme Court and Commonwealth Court. They had 98 exhibits. They had evidence. They claim they have evidence of officials admitting that they did it, admitting to destroying evidence, shredding receipts and return sheets, laughing about having a fire, even caught their lawyers admitting to levels of fraud like this. These are the claims that they have, and it's just amazing that that kind of stuff can go down, and then the DA will just be like, nah, we're not going to be looking at that. So the logic, and then I asked him what happened again. He said no LNA, logic and accuracy testing not happening there in Delaware County. Scanners were down, and V drive scamming, mail-in scams. I mean, he said it's fraud central, basically. So and it's just nuts, man. It's nuts that kind of stuff is going on, and nobody wants to see it, nobody wants to talk about it. Sure, okay, whatever.
They're in denial.
Right.
Get it?
I'll
Election
probably have to
denial.
cut out fairly soon, guys.
All right, Mark.
I'll just leave it with this. There's this kind of Americans have been sort of imbued or propagandized with this idea that we're the shining city on the hill. Other countries long to be like us, and there at least was, and to a very limited extent, is a little truth to that. It is a unique constitution. It got away from monarchies and whatnot. There's a lot of imperfections. There are things about the Constitution that were pretty weak, especially against the banking cartel. The Constitution was not strong enough to withstand that, in my opinion. But Americans are very slow to surrender the idea that their country doesn't have these kind of problems. It's a big kind of societal denial. They just don't want to admit that we have stolen elections, and the military no longer does anything noble at all anymore. It's just a global gendarme, and that the things we were told growing up, if they were true at all, are certainly largely not true anymore. And Americans don't easily surrender that sort of idealistic view of their own country. And so the media plays on that, you know, that kind of innocence, that naivete. American elections, oh no, you know, they may not be absolutely perfect, but you know, this is America, and we can trust our institutions. And so there's still enough people that have that naivete, and the media plays on that, you know, to kind of, no matter how many problems spring up, people just don't want to surrender that idealism, largely false though it may be. And it's a tough thing to conquer, because that's been really drilled into our heads that, you know, some flea-bitten satrapy somewhere or some third world country has these problems, but not here. And
Mark,
that's starting to break down, but it's a tough thing to get rid of.
you know what is creepy? You know what is creepy? I was just going to make the same dang point that you just made right now.
Oh,
that is actually
great minds think alike.
Seriously, I was just going to make the point that the media banks on that exact feeling of the American people, that they do not want to admit the truth, and they do not want to see the truth. That's what they are banking on.
Yeah, my doctor would never lie to me. My doctor wears a white coat. You know, I can trust the school board. The principal's got my kids' best interests at heart. There's just enough of that left that kind of provides a firewall. That's why the media is not going down faster than it is, even though it's going down. So we're kind of in this dynamic of that naivete going down, and the realization of the truth coming up. How fast will that move? What are the obstacles against getting to the point where someone would actually be arrested? You know, if you're not doing the logic tests on an election machine during an important election, and those machines are not being properly tested, there should be a penalty for that. You know, you should be fined or spend 3 months in the slammer. You know, I mean, come on. You know, do your job or else. You know.
Yep. Gregory told me that DA Stolzenheimer lied, AG Shapiro lied, and William Barr lied, and William Barr told the Pennsylvania DA to stand down on that. Oh, and by the way, Barr profited hundreds of millions of dollars on the Dominican voting machines personally. So, you know, problematic, I suppose, to use some of their own wording there, but yeah, not been looked into, but they did have their door knocked on by other agencies, that's for sure. So apparently it's not popular for them to tell their story. You can see their evidence if you want, folks, at patriot.online. They have an election resources page up there. So you can check that out. And yeah, Parallel Election is the name of their book. Check them out. Decide for yourself what you think of what they think. There's also that the Fulton, Georgia audit, right, Mark, that has been being worked on for quite a long time now. On with regards to the 2020 election. So there's many stories to be told in some of the same places every time we have an election now. So I don't know if we can keep up with it. We're still working on 2020 election cases while we're seeing all this crazy stuff happen with 22. So
yeah, I'll mention before I go, just because it's a compilation, the article that should still be on ukcolumn.org that I wrote. The foreign media is following the U.S. media in attacking any credible claims of election fraud. Toward the bottom of that story, and it's still posted at ukcolumn.org, I highlight some of the election problems and major issues in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Georgia, and I think one other state. And so there's a good list there. And the problems were so long, I couldn't even include them all about each state, or the article would have been too long. so many things that need investigating. It's just incredible. So, well, thanks, guys. There's something I got to tend to.
All right. Well, Mark, appreciate your time. Mr. Noah Genda, thank you for joining us tonight. You can check him out at thetruthhound.com. And yeah, Mark, we'll see you next time, man. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thanks, Mark.
You guys
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you too, guys.
All right. There he goes, everybody. Mark Anderson, the Truth Hound himself. Ruckus, have we forgotten anything tonight? Anything else you want to throw into the boiler room? I don't know. I don't even know where we're at right now.
Oh, no, I got nothing, bro. I literally avoided the news all day. So
yeah, me too. I mean, I've got a whole hootenanny on that Colorado Springs thing, but I don't really want to get into that. That's a grim topic, and it's Thanksgiving after all. So I'm gonna let you guys return to your battle stations over there. Infidel Pharaoh, what about you? You got anything you want to throw out there tonight before we shut this one down? And happy Thanksgiving to you, man. Thanks for being here tonight.
No, I'm good from my end. Thank you for having me, and thanks for our listener, and happy Thanksgiving.
All right, there you go. Nice and easy, unvaccinated and ready to talk politics. That's Infidel Angry Birds Pharaoh right there. Thanks for being here tonight. Infidel Ruckus, Gravy Man Clark, thank you for being here with me tonight, and happy Thanksgiving to you also. I'll let you take us out of here, man, before Bruce.
Oh, Bruce. Okay,
You know.
you had me worried for a minute. Okay. I don't know. Based on some of the things we were talking about tonight, all I can say is the farther away the future is, the better it looks. Thanks for having me, man. God bless everybody out there, and may God save this republic. Ruckus out.
All right. Thanks, Ruckus. There he goes, everybody. Peace out, Ruckus. Peace out, everybody at YouTube, Rockfin, Spreaker, Alternate Current Radio. Thanks for being here with us tonight. We'll see you next time. Have a great rest of the weekend and the holiday. Peace out.
That's it. Go ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama.